All right, let's talk about the one message every single person in the food business dreads getting. You know the one, a customer reaches out and says your food made them sick. And that moment, man, it can feel like a full-blown crisis, right? But it really doesn't have to be. If you've got the right process in place, you can actually turn that moment of pure stress into something totally manageable and professional. So let's get right into the playbook for how to do that. So picture this. You're going about your day, and boom, that email or text message lands in your inbox. Your heart just drops, doesn't it? And your first instinct, your gut reaction, might be to totally panic, or maybe apologize for everything under the sun, or even get a little defensive. But hold on. What you do in those first few minutes, well, it's absolutely critical. It's going to set the tone for everything that comes next.
So here's our game plan. We're going to break this whole thing down into a super clear 4-step roadmap. First up, we'll nail that crucial first response. Then we're shifting gears into investigation mode. After that, we'll talk about how to navigate all the pressure and demands for refunds. And finally, how to state your final position and just close the loop.
All right, let's dive into section 1. This is arguably the most important part, your very first written reply. Seriously, this is where you have to do 3 things at once. Establish that you're in control, show that you care, and protect yourself legally. It's a real balancing act, but you can totally do it. Okay, check this out, because this is all about the incredible power of language. On the left, if you say something like, "I'm so sorry my food poisoned you," well, that's an emotional reaction, sure, but it can also sound like a direct admission of fault. You're basically saying, "Yep, it was me." But now, look at the right. "I'm sorry you're feeling unwell." See the difference? You're showing human empathy for how they feel, but you are not taking responsibility for causing it. It sounds subtle, but trust me, it's a massive, massive difference. So, with that in mind, here is a fantastic script that you can adapt. This shows you exactly how to get it right. Let's break it down. It starts by acknowledging their message. It shows sympathy for how they're feeling. It confirms that you're a pro who's taking this seriously. And, this is the crucial part, it totally shifts the conversation away from blame and accusation and moves it into a calm, professional, fact-finding process. So, just to quickly recap, that one single message hits all 4 of these goals perfectly. You're showing you care, you're confirming you take it seriously, you're avoiding admitting any liability, and you're kicking off a proper process. You're being a human, for sure, but you're also being a really smart business owner. You're basically laying the foundation for a process, not for a fight. Okay, on to phase 2. Investigate, don't argue. Once you've sent that first calm, professional message, your whole mindset has to shift. It's time to take off the customer service hat for a second and put on your investigator hat. We're moving away from emotion and into the world of evidence. Now, this is so important to remember. Your goal here is not to win some kind of debate or prove the customer wrong. Nope, your goal is just to create a clear, factual timeline of events. That's it. And this is also why you have to be super careful with your words. From now on, you're going to refer to it as a reported illness, not food poisoning. Why? Because food poisoning is an actual medical diagnosis, a legal term, and you're not a doctor. You're not in a position to make that call. Okay, so your next message to them should be a really calm, straightforward request for more information. You're not interrogating them. You're just running your process. You need to ask, who is actually unwell? What are their specific symptoms? When exactly did those symptoms begin? What did each person eat and drink from you? And then number 5, this one is absolutely critical. What else have they eaten in the last 48 to 72 hours? Remember, the incubation period for different foodborne illnesses can vary wildly, so that piece of information is just essential. Now, while you're waiting for them to get back to you, you're not just sitting on your hands. You start building your own internal case file. And look, this isn't about being dramatic or overly corporate. It's just about being prepared. You want to pull together the menu, your supplier invoices, any batch codes, notes on storage, and of course, a copy of all your messages. Because if this thing ever escalates, you need to be able to show your entire bulletproof process. This is what keeps you credible. So if we just zoom out for a second, this is what the whole professional protocol looks like. It all flows together really logically, right? You start with that initial report, which is stressful. But then you move into a calm, fact-finding stage, you do your own internal review, and that all leads you to a clear, final position. It's a roadmap that takes you from that initial chaos to a controlled, professional resolution. Okay, on to section 3. This is where things can get, well, a little tricky. The customer is probably upset, maybe even scared, and pretty soon they might start demanding a full refund or other compensation. This is the moment where you really have to hold your nerve and, you guessed it, stick to the process.
And we're coming right back to this crucial distinction because it is just that important. You absolutely can and should show empathy. Saying, "I'm sorry you're unwell" is perfect, but saying, "I'm sorry I caused this," that's an admission of fault. You have to draw a clear line in the sand with your language and maintain that boundary every single time.
So, when that demand for a refund inevitably comes in, here's another great script for your back pocket. It does three things just perfectly. First, it validates her feelings. "I understand why you're upset." Second, it states your position clearly without getting defensive. "I'm not in a position to confirm the source of the illness right now." And third, it keeps you in the driver's seat for what happens next. "I can suggest a fair way forward." You see? You're still in control.
Now, let's say you get to a point where you do decide to offer some money just to make the situation go away. You never call it a refund because my food made you sick. No way. You frame it as a gesture of goodwill. These three words are your best friend here. It basically means you're making an offer to maintain a good customer relationship, and it's absolutely not an admission of fault or liability. It's a business decision, not a confession.
All right, we've made it to the final stage, stating your final position. You've gathered all the facts, you've reviewed your own internal processes, and now it's time to deliver your final, professional response and close this issue out for good.
So, when it comes to crafting this final message, you've generally got three paths you can go down. Path number one, your investigation found absolutely no link. You state that clearly and professionally. Path two, maybe the situation is a bit murky, it's a he said, she said kind of thing, and you just want it to be over. This is where you can make that offer of goodwill. And path three, sometimes you realize the real problem wasn't the food, but maybe the service was terrible. In that case, you can apologize specifically for that and keep it totally separate from the illness claim.
But what if they try to use pressure tactics? Like, what if they demand a phone call? Fine, take the call, but tell them up front you'll be sending a written summary right after. The key is, don't negotiate money or anything live on the phone. And if they threaten you with a bad review, don't get dragged into a public fight online. Just keep all your communication private and factual. Your goal through all of this is always be the calm, responsive, evidence-led adult in the room.
You know, when you really think about it, this isn't just about handling one single complaint. It's about having a solid system in place that you can rely on every single time this happens. So the final question I want to leave you with is this. If that dreaded email landed in your inbox right now, today, is your process strong enough to protect your business and your hard-earned reputation?